What if you stopped fighting? Not against the world, not against others, but against yourself. For just one moment. What would happen if the silent battle you wage deep inside, the effort to be better, stronger, more, anything, simply ceased? Can you feel the tension? The constant pushing and pulling between who you think you are and who you think you ought to be. Who is pulling and who is being pulled? In that silence, perhaps you could hear a different question. What if your existence isn't a problem to be solved? What if life, with all its uncertainties and pains, isn't a test you never studied for? What if instead, it's a secret you forgot you knew? You wake up, and for a brief moment before the world puts a name on you, before the memories and plans of the day flood your mind, there is only being. The silent sensation of existing without a why. Then, the mirror. You look at that face, a face you know so well. But sometimes for a split second, don't you? A familiar stranger stares back at you. Who is this person who carries your worries? Who answers to your name? You feel the ground beneath your feet, the skin that separates you from the air. This sharp boundary that says, in here it's me, out there it's the rest. A fortress you spend your whole life defending, without ever questioning who is the prisoner inside. The day begins, and with it, the search. The search for something you can't name. It could be success, peace, love, happiness. Words we use to describe a destination that always seems to be one step ahead. In the next job, the next relationship, next Monday. You feel like a wave. Being born, rising, believing its purpose is to reach the highest peak, never realizing it was never separate from the ocean. The wave is just what the ocean is doing in that moment. But the wave, in its hurry, forgets. It worries about breaking, and what if anxiety is just that energy? The energy of the ocean trying to be a better wave. The tremendous effort of holding a form that, by its very nature, is impermanent. You try to control the tide with your bare hands, exhausting yourself in the process. You see yourself in the reflection of a shop window. You see the posture, the clothes, the expression. A carefully constructed character designed to navigate a world of other characters. But who is wearing the costume? Who is watching the play from behind your eyes? This feeling of being slightly out of place. As if you're playing a role from a script you've never fully read, improvising every line, every gesture, hoping no one notices that you're not sure what you're doing here. That, deep down, everyone else is improvising too. You seek silence, but your mind screams. You plan the future to escape the present. You recall the past to understand who you are. A constant coming and going, a pendulum that never rests in the center, where life is actually happening. But what if this relentless search is the distraction itself? The game you created so you wouldn't have to face a much simpler truth. What if the thing you're searching for isn't something to be found, but something to be realized? The feeling of being a separate I, an isolated consciousness inside a skull, looking out at an external world. What if this is the greatest illusion of all? The most convincing one, the most solitary one, the root of all your struggle, the ocean playing at being a wave, the universe experiencing itself through your eyes, not as a poetic idea, but as the true nature of reality. What if your life isn't about finding your way back home? What if it's about realizing you never left? These are questions that don't seek answers, but rather space. If you feel that this journey of questioning resonates with you, consider subscribing, not to get notifications, but to be part of a silent conversation. A reminder that you are not alone in this exploration. So let's play with an idea. Just for fun, no strings attached. Imagine that tonight, when you go to sleep, you have the power to dream any dream you want, any reality, any experience, completely under your command. In the beginning, It would be the fulfillment of all desires, endless pleasures, magnificent adventures. You would fly without wings, breathe underwater. You would compose symphonies that would make angels weep, paint skies with colors never before seen. 75 years of pure bliss, night after night. You would have all the loves, all the passions. You would conquer all empires, solve all mysteries. You would be the hero, the sage, the perfect lover. Every moment would be a masterpiece of joy, carefully designed by your own will. No pain, no loss, no fear, but after a few nights, or a few centuries in dream time, wouldn't it start to get a little predictable? Victory is sweet, but what does it mean when defeat is impossible? Pleasure is wonderful, but doesn't its brilliance fade without the shadow of its opposite? So, you would start to introduce little surprises, an element of risk. Let's dream of an adventure where the outcome isn't guaranteed. A small challenge, an obstacle to overcome. Something to make your heart beat a little faster, to bring back the taste of true achievement. You would allow yourself to have problems. You would dream of cunning enemies, complex puzzles. You would put yourself in situations where you'd need to use your intelligence, your courage, your creativity. The joy of the solution would be so much deeper than the joy of an instantly gratified wish, and you would go further. You'd start to play with control. Let's dream that I'm not in control. Let's dream that I'm just an ordinary person, at the mercy of events, of the forces of nature. A bigger and bigger gamble, a bolder game. You would forget, on purpose, that you are dreaming. That would be the next thrill. To dive so deep into the experience that you believe it completely. To feel real fear, real loss, real uncertainty. Because only then would the joy also be real. You would introduce fragility, impermanence, because the beauty of a cherry blossom is that it doesn't last forever. The value of a moment lies in its fleetingness. You would dream of being born and dying, the complete cycle of existence. And after you had dreamed all possible dreams, the lives of kings, of poets, of cosmic explorers, after you had exhausted all fantasies, what would be the final adventure? The ultimate surprise? The most complex, most challenging, and therefore most rewarding dream? You would dream the life you are living right now. Exactly this one, with this body, these memories, these circumstances, with the bills to pay, with that scar on your left knee, with the longing for that person who is gone. You would dream of doubt, the uncertainty about the future, the confusion about the past, the feeling of not knowing if you're doing the right thing. Because in the absence of a script, every choice has weight. Every moment matters. The freedom of not knowing is the greatest adventure of all. You would dream of pain, not out of masochism, but for the depth it brings. The broken heart that teaches you the capacity to love. The failure that shows you the strength of resilience. You would understand that the valley is what gives meaning to the mountain, that the night is what makes the stars visible. You would dream of the small joys, not the grand ecstasies of the first dreams, but the subtleties, the warmth of the sun on your skin on a cool afternoon, the smell of fresh coffee in the morning, the spontaneous laughter of a friend, the beauty hidden in the routine that only mindfulness can reveal. You would dream of complex relationships, the frustrations, the misunderstandings, the forgiveness, the delicate dance between closeness and space. Because connecting with another being, with all their mystery and unpredictability, is a far greater challenge than commanding the cosmos. You would dream of boredom, the days when nothing seems to happen, waiting in line, the traffic, the repetition. So that, by contrast, you could recognize the miracle of a moment that breaks the monotony. To learn to find life in the space between the notes, you would dream of the search for meaning. The philosophical journey itself, the need to understand the why of it all. You would place yourself in this exact spot, hearing these exact words, questioning the nature of your own existence. For the ultimate game, the masterpiece of consciousness is to pretend it's not consciousness. It's the ultimate reality, the nameless God, playing at not being God. It's the whole hiding in a part for the joy of rediscovering itself. You are not something that came into this world. You are something that came out of it, like a leaf from a tree. You are not an isolated ego, a soul trapped in a body. You are the entire universe experiencing life as you. And what if this life, with all its imperfections, is not a rehearsal, not a punishment, not an accident? What if it's the main event? The dream you chose to have after you grew tired of perfection. The adventure of forgetting, so that you can remember. But how do you live knowing something like this? How do you navigate the real world carrying the secret that it's all a dream? So the illusion is not life itself. The illusion is the belief that you are separate from it. The belief in boundaries, life versus death, self versus other, pleasure versus pain, success versus failure, as if they were two armies on a battlefield. But you can't have one side without the other. You only know what up is because of down. Light is only recognizable because of darkness. Sound is born from silence and returns to it. They are two sides of the same coin. Trying to have one without the other is the source of all frustration. You fear death. But death is what gives shape to life. It is the dark background against which the jewel of existence shines. Every cell in your body is dying and being born in this very instant. You are a process, a flow, not a statue. Life is a constant letting go. You seek pleasure and run from pain. But pain is the alarm system that keeps you alive. It is the teacher that shows you where growth is needed. Pleasure that never ceases becomes tasteless. The tension of the violin string is what allows for the music. Without tension, only a slack silence. You identify with the I, the ego, that little command center that narrates the world. But this I is a construct, a collection of memories, beliefs, and habits. It's constantly changing. The you from 10 years ago no longer exists. What remains? What is the silent observer behind all the versions of you? The real you is not what can be seen or named. It is the awareness itself which perceives all of this. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. The sound of the bird outside and the thought you have about it happen in the same space. Your awareness. See the dance. The in-breath and the out-breath. The pull and the release. The heart that contracts so it can expand. The entire universe operates on this rhythm. The tide that rises and falls. The seed that must break for the plant to be born. Why would you believe your life is the only exception? To stop fighting is not to surrender to defeat. It is to join the flow of the dance. It is to stop trying to swim against the river's current and to start using its power to guide yourself. It is to realize that the wave doesn't have to struggle to be a wave. It just is. And by being, it fulfills its role in the ocean. When you stop dividing the world reveals itself as a whole. The sound of the rain isn't an annoyance. It is just the sound of the rain. The feeling of sadness isn't an enemy. It is just a feeling. You stop labeling, stop judging, and you begin, perhaps for the first time, to simply notice. And in that space of pure observation, a peace arises that does not depend on circumstances. It is not the peace of getting what you want, but the peace of not needing anything other than what is. It's the silent recognition that deep down, everything is exactly as it should be, and that is why the greatest change you can make is to change absolutely nothing at all. So what does this change? Absolutely nothing. And for that very reason, everything. The world remains the same. The bills still arrive. The traffic still exists. The heart can still be broken. This is not a proposal for a magical escape from reality. It is a deeper dive into it. The difference is that you stop taking yourself so seriously. You realize that the I you so fiercely defend is part of the game. It is your character in the grand cosmic play. You can play it well, you can love it, but you no longer have to believe that it's all you are. There is immense relief in this. It's the universe playing hide and seek with itself. It hides in every star, in every grain of sand, in every thought that crosses your mind. And the purpose of the game? The joy of being found. The aha of recognizing yourself in the most unexpected places. You start to see the divine in the ordinary, the complexity of a spider's web, the persistence of grass growing through concrete, the unexpected kindness of a stranger. God isn't in some distant heaven. It is in the texture of the present experience. Life ceases to be a problem, to be solved, and becomes a work of art to be contemplated. You don't ask a symphony, what is your point? You don't ask a dance, where are you trying to get to? The point is contained in every note, in every step. The meaning of life is simply to be alive. This doesn't mean passivity, it means acting from a different place. Not from anxiety and lack, but from fullness and creativity. You can still want to build, to create, to change the world. But you do it as a game, not as a war. The fear of making the wrong choice diminishes. If life is a dance, there are no wrong steps, only the next step. Some are graceful, others are clumsy, but they are all part of the same movement. Every path eventually leads to the same place. Here, you stop trying to control every outcome. Like a sailor who cannot control the wind but can adjust the sails, you work with the forces of life, not against them, and you discover an intelligence far greater than that of your small planning ego. The search for security in the future dissolves. Because the only real security lies in your ability to handle insecurity. It lies in the trust that just as the ocean knows how to make waves, you will know how to live the moment when it arrives. Not before. And then, the secret you forgot begins to whisper in your ear again. Not as an answer, but as a presence. The feeling that behind all the masks, beneath all the stories, you are life itself, dreaming that it's you. So, there is nothing to be done. No enlightenment to be achieved, no special state to be attained. The work is already done. The truth already is what it is. The wave doesn't need to take a course to learn how to be water. It only needs to stop for a moment and feel the ocean that it already is. The search ends when you realize that what you were looking for was the one who was looking. You are not separate from the whole. You are the whole, having the curious and wonderful experience of being a part. The music of the universe isn't out there. It plays through you. And what if the sound of your own heart, in this very moment, is the rhythm of the universe dancing with itself? What if the simple act of breathing is the cosmic tide rising and falling inside of you? There is no secret at all, just life being lived, here, now. And since we've arrived here in this quiet place, one last question. Of this whole dream we've explored, what fragment, what image can you still feel? The one that made your chest vibrate, or that silenced your mind for a moment? That is your echo. The space below isn't a place for answers, but for resonances. Feel free to leave your echo. And if you wish for this conversation of ours to continue, for this space of pause and reflection to find you. Again, the invitation to subscribe always remains open. Your presence here is already part of the dance.